Hello, myself Riya Kapoor from School of Fashion Design. Today I will be discussing on the topic related elements of design and principles of designs in relation with fashion forecasting. Starting over with the designing concept, I would like to tell you around that how design affects. Before starting about the design elements and principle, design is something that is a plan or concept for an object or process. Let me tell you about the elements of design. There are various numbers of elements under the design. Starting from the very first dot. Dot is something from which any design starts over. Yayoi Kusama, a Japanese artist who brought the dots as an element of design and worked on these concepts. Just as an example here, you can see the big dots on the red dress is giving a different feel to the fabric and the design. And while at the same time, the yellow and multiple dots in the variations of small and large dots creating a difference. Coming to the next. The same concept helps when we see the lint over a fabric. Again, that is a portion that defines the dots. Even on the embroideries and the beads and the Marc Jacobs ready to wear, that is RTW, in the fall season was a great job of the dots. From the dots, a line is made. A line is a series of points, just as if we have a lot of examples: horizontal, vertical, spiral, curvy, the wavy, the diagonal and the broken. Though these all lines have been used naturally also and even in interior and architecture, the movement of the line signifies different role and a psychology effect. The same goes when we see under fashion or even as an illusion of line. Even in the fabrics, even by the artist, the Andy Warhol, who came up with just with the lines with a series of artworks. By the next, we can see the lines not even in the prints but also in the construction of the fabric and the garments. The next element of design is space, where positive and negative effects affects a lot in the psychology of mind. The same when we see in the next in a form of embroidery or in a form of patchwork or of applique, that is a part of surface ornamentation, that means fabric manipulation. We can see how the space is being divided, even though the white and the green space makes and creates a much difference. In the next, when we see it in the form of prints, the space again plays an important role. While we see this yellow and pink florals or the geometrical shapes and the curvy lines came across in the patterns and fabrics, the next major element of design is color. The color again has a wheel, schemes and a lot of different psychology effects to it again, as similar as how the space, line and dots played. Coming to the very first pointer of the color, the first are the primary colors, the red, yellow, blue. The next when I talk about is through the primary colors, the primary plus primary makes the secondary colors. The next when I come to complementary colors, these are those colors that complement each other. For example, in a color wheel, it goes, however, in a diagonal direction and plays a contrasting role. These can be applied not only in fashion but in interior architecture and a lot of other things in the terms of designing. The next, the tint, shades and tones. These are the color mixtures and are included in the color schemes. However, the tint is a color that are mixed with white and shade is a color that is mixed with black, and the tones are the colors that are mixed with the gray. Coming to the next series, the color relationships. The color relationships again plays a different role, however the schemes is. So the next and the very first color relationship under that, monochromatic, is the one. Monochromatic is a series of color palette where the selecting of different values and colors is an important part, where we take a single color and create hues of it, whether it be shade and tints. Coming to the next relationship, that is the analogous color series. Analogous is again one of the series that plays a different role in the color scheme and the wheel, where we can see the differences. For example, taking only the one hue color, that is yellow, and dividing and splitting into the three categories. And the next, the complementary, is the one where the color wheel goes oppositely. Like for example, the green, the red, the yellow, the purple, however like that. Next, in the split complementary, we see there is a hue, that is the color green, that is splitted into two categories on the other side of the color wheel. That is again the browns and the pinks and violet shades. The next, when we see the double split complementary, thus it justifies by its name only. The split complementary comprises of the two divisions, and the double split complementary divides into two. The next one is the triad, where a triangle series is made in a color wheel. Although the next I would be discussing about the principles of design. Under the principles of design, these are the rules that every designer must follow. Though there are no restrictions under designing, but still there are some effects that are majorly should be followed. For example, emphasis, balance, contrast, repetition, proportion, movement and rhythm are one of them. The very first that I would be talking about is harmony. Harmony is one of the principle of design that is also said by as unity. Though unity is one of the set of the examples that I've given in this presentation is the rocks and interior design. So basically these kind of designs displays the correct variety of how unity and harmony could be said, just as how the piece is. In the terms in fashion, when we see harmony and unity, it totally defines with the very simplest silhouettes like these. Under the next category, I will be talking about emphasis. Emphasis is one of the principles of design that tells us how focus plays a great role. While putting out some examples like all the black umbrellas under that red umbrella is blooming up. Defining the next example in terms of fashion, if I say, the very first image that you see are the variation of exaggerated collars. Very last picture, if you see, is all about the sleeves, exaggerated sleeves, that is Lego mutton or a puff sleeve could play a difference in the emphasis principle of design. And while in the center, if I see, you can see a very plain silhouette going on, but still on the waist part, what you can see, the fabric manipulation is one of the example that defines emphasis very clearly. Coming to the next principle of design, that is balance. Balance is one of the principle of design where we can define into two categories, that is symmetrical and asymmetrical. Symmetrical balance is something that can be defined as equal divided parts, and asymmetrical would be something that is unequal and has some sort of divisions. Just for an example, you can see in this artwork where the colors play a major role, even the proportions play a major role in creating the definition of balance as a principle of design. While in the next image, if I see in the terms of fashion, the very first image defines the plunge neckline where the balance is showcased. And in the second picture, if I see, the whole silhouette is personifying asymmetrical balance as a principle. Coming over next, we have contrast. Again, contrast has two categories, the color and the size contrast. Where color and size are the elements of design, this is how we learn the understanding of how elements and principle are correlated to each other. Putting out forward an example, just like this picture, how the color is defining as a contrasting principle. Going on next, in terms of fashion, if I say, again, not only prints and patterns, but even the plain silhouettes play a major role in performing the different principles of design, having size, colors, and even the proportions, even in the contrasting principle. Moving forward, if I say about the repetition principle of design, it is one of the easiest one to grab. However, again, not only in the prints, but even we can see this in the plain formats. Coming first, starting over with the prints, if I see the same repetition habit is repeatedly with the motifs. Though motifs have a different developments and the print styles are different. There are multiple print styles and concepts. Though being it half drop, horizontal, vertical, diagonal, or even bricklaying print style would play a difference. Even in the next, if I see on the costume hole designing, the contrasting plays a role. Coming to next, the proportion as a principle of design. I would like to correlate it with the body type. However, in this image, it totally justifies how the body figure works. Even in this balloon skirt, the plus size figure, it's giving a justification. But in a very fitted costume, it's not. So this is how you can define proportion as a principle, not only in the body types, but in the definition of colors and schemes as well. Though when we take it as an element in the shapes. Coming over next, the rhythm. Rhythm is one of the principle of design where I would define it as a movement. Though this is how I would define it in the terms of fashion. For example, the lines, the textures playing a role, and even in the next, the sleeves, how the movement of sleeve is going on, even in the layered and the puff, the things are different. Coming over to the conclusion, that is forecasting. We have already learned about the elements and principle of design. Now I would be defining the both of the EOD and POD in the terms of forecasting. Though designing is a different series and fashion designers and even the fashion forecasters play a two different roles, but their job is correlated to each other. Fashion forecasting being one of the factor where we are predicting how the trends are how the trends are going and the consumer preferences are changing. This includes different kind of researches, including market research, consumer trend report. Coming to the next, we are talking about the global authority of color combination and communication, where we are talking about Pantone. So Pantone color of the year, it is Mocha Muse, the tones of browns and the hues of it. So what does it actually signify? Capturing a global mood of connection, communication, color combination and inspiration, though comfort and harmony as well. So basically this is one of the notes that I have given by the Vice President of Pantone Color Institute. So that's all for today. Stay updated with fashion news to understand better about the elements and principles in correlation with forecasting.